Welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic show coming up tonight with Marla Brooks. She's an author, a witch, a radio host as well, and she's just published a new book, Soul Connection, A Deadly Obsession, with Haunted Road Media. So we're going to be talking all things soulmate, soul connections. We'll get into some witchy stuff as well. All coming up here on Edge of the Rabbit Hole. Okay, well, welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker, your host, with my co-host Vanessa Hogle. As always, down in the chat room, we have our chat Shananigator, Shana, who will be shaking things up down there. And then, of course, our guest, Marla Brooks, who, like I said at the beginning, just published a new book with us, Soul Connection, A Deadly Obsession, which just came out last night. And Marla is actually the very first guest that we ever had on Edge of the Rabbit Hole, back when we were just a radio show, almost 3 years ago this month. So, Marla, welcome back. Great to have you.
You live to tell the tale. Thank you very much.
We do. So, Marla, tell us a little bit about the book. I know that you can't say too much without giving a lot away, but you know, whatever it is you feel that you can talk about with the book, let people know what Soul Connection is all about. And I'll go ahead and put up the
cover.
The cover, yes.
Nicely done cover, I might add. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. There it is. There's the cover.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, I believe in reincarnation. I believe in soulmates. And the book is about, starts about 150 years ago, when these two young people decided that they fell in love and were going to get married, and really couldn't imagine living a day without each other. But 2 days before the wedding, she was murdered. And he was just obviously devastated and lived the rest of his life, a long life, being kind of a curmudgeon-y to himself kind of guy. I mean, he functioned, but that was about it. And when he passed, he kept checking the ethers and the universe to try and find her, because, you know, he figured, she's there, I'm there, we'll get back together. But they kept missing each other. And about 150 years later, cut to modern day, they found each other again. Took a little while, but they did, and they recognized each other immediately, and everything was really wonderful. But it seems that there was one other person that ended up back here at the same time, and that was the person that murdered her. And so it's kind of one of those things, is it going to be a joyful reunion? Is everything going to work out well, or does history repeat itself? So it's kind of a thriller as you go along. And yeah. So what did you think of it? I'll turn into a...
What did I think of it? Well, yeah, you know, I thought the whole, you know, idea with reincarnation, because it's something that I've been exploring lately with Shana. You know, I for many years didn't necessarily believe in reincarnation. I mean, there's maybe a couple of things that tugged at the back of my mind. I was kind of wondering, but you know, my upbringing didn't allow for that. But then once I met Shana, it was like, oh yeah, okay, I get it now. I get it. Here's my soulmate, and I totally get it now. So it was interesting to see a story using those elements.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, Marla, since we're talking about reincarnation and soulmates and such, and we know that, like Mike and Shana, that loves can be reunited, okay? Mm-hmm. And in your book, you say that the person who murdered her has actually reincarnated and come back into the picture. Mm-hmm. Is it just as likely in real life for those who believe in reincarnation, and even those who don't, it happens to you anyway, is it just as likely that not only are you reincarnated with those whom you share a close bond with, but also those who are mortal enemies?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of talk about that, but here's the thing. Haven't you ever just met somebody for the first time, and without any reason at all, you couldn't stand that person? They
yes.
can't stand you. you had an aversion to this person and you couldn't figure out why. And you're thinking, well, that's unfair, but I can't stand that person. Or conversely, if you meet somebody for the first time and you're just attracted to them, male, female, whatever, this person, you want to be with this person. I think that's part of that, part of the reincarnation process. You kind of travel with your tribe, is what people say. We come back in different shapes and forms and different circumstances, but at the same time, we know them. You know each other by their soul, not by their looks or the situation. So, yeah, I think it's absolutely possible. And in this case, in the book, and this isn't really giving anything away, he who killed her was another, one of their friends who was really interested in her, but she just never gave him another look because she was madly in love with the other guy, right? And so with him, it was kind of, well, if I can't have you, nobody will. And that's why that took place. Now, does he know what's going on? Did he come back on purpose? Did he know? Was he tracking them or something? I don't know. I really haven't figured that one out yet. Why he showed up? Maybe it was karma, maybe it was circumstance. But I really think we travel with the same tribe from life to life to life, just in different.
And that's good, bad, or indifferent.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, because I've heard a lot of talk about, like the soul group, like a group of people that are always, kind of coming back to each other throughout time. So, somebody like this character who's really kind of almost like the enemy of the book. Does that person, that enemy, kind of travel along with you in your soul group, even though might not be a friendly member of it, but is that type of character, talking real life, are they also in your soul group?
I think so. I kind of think that anybody that's significant in any way, whether it's good or bad, is part of that group, and they will travel along with you because we all have karma to take care of. And that guy, everybody hates him, by the way. Everybody is so
he's a jerk, big time.
Oh, he's horrible.
Yeah.
But I think that
he's abusive too. So yeah.
Yes, he is. he has a reason to come back with each life too. He's trying to get over something. He's trying to deal with karma.
I was watching that happen.
Yeah. Usually this time he's just sound asleep, but not tonight. So yeah, it's just I think for better or for worse, for good or for bad, we all come back for a reason, and we have to make it right. And if you don't, you keep coming back and coming back again.
Now, you bring up an interesting point, and it shocks people when they hear me say this, and I would love your opinion. I believe that this is my last go-around.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that what the cycle I couldn't break before in multiple lives, I finally broken.
Mm-hmm.
And that when I cease to exist in this life, that I can finally rest,
Mm-hmm.
And is that common? Is that uncommon? Do people know?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, you're not saying that your life is perfect now. It's not 100% wonderful and whatever. But as you said, you broke a cycle. That might have been the roadblock. And
yeah.
You did that when you inherently know that that's what happened. You're very likely right.
I was able to have a child for the first time.
There you go. See?
In any life. This is the only time I've carried a child.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me till I was over 30 to do it.
Yeah.
Multiple losses. And so I knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's going to be, y'all ain't getting rid of me anytime soon. I got at least another 35 years. But I've seen it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to look like and when I'm in my 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But I just know that this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not upset.
Oh, no, because you've accomplished everything you need to accomplish in so to speak. And, and here's the other thing. If at some point, and this is another belief of mine, but if at some point you decide that you left something out or you needed to fix something, you can always come back. I mean, it's free will.
Absolutely. Just not required.
Not required, no. But if you just want to give it that little extra, yeah.
Yeah. I want to stick it to them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then you'll be so messed up, you're going to have to come back 4 more times.
Oh, shit. No. I'm all right.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
All right, we have a $10 super chat from Tom McNicholas. He says, a direct line of communication with the universe occurs in our dreams. We also have a question here from Sean Oldsmith. So thank you very much, Tom. Absolutely appreciate that. From Sean Oldsmith, do you think you get reincarnated because your other life had not been fulfilled or something?
Well, I think that's part of it. But, who's judging the fulfillment? Is it something that them above want you to fulfill or something that you personally want to fulfill?
All right, and you were talking about free will, so you're thinking we're coming back here because we want to learn something?
That we maybe not want to, maybe we have to in order to move up.
Or to contribute something.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people kind of attribute that there's whatever, is controlling the universe, keeps sending us back down here to learn something, that's what's controlling it. But it sounds like if you have free will, though, that even up there over that might not necessarily be true.
Well, free will is a blessing and a curse because sometimes we're just not up to doing the right thing, so it can backfire. But I don't think, anything's carved in stone.
Well, and there's a very real possibility, since we're jumping down that hole, that the first 1 or 2 or even 3 times that we reincarnate, it could happen almost on accident. Because, in many cases, you die in a hospital, less hope from illness, surrounded by other people that are not only dying, but being born. Yeah. How difficult would it be during that disorientation period to inject yourself, into another person? It really wouldn't be that hard.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because my friend loves to watch Mexican novellas. And so
wow.
It's like soap opera. It gets you, so I'm watching them too. And this one particular one that's on now is about a guy on death row who, when he got electrocuted, his soul went into this other guy that had just gotten murdered. And then there was a third guy. I mean, it's a little bit confusing, but that's exactly, what we're kind of talking about, that the soul kind of got lost in the way. Somehow it blipped into somebody else and you don't expect it to, but it happened. I mean, the universe, so many secrets out there that we don't know. I mean, we know when we're there, but when we get back here, we're like, duh, we don't remember. So
I think we get snippets of information. And
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where this evolving phase comes into play, and acceptance of things we can't change, and just like the serenity prayer, the courage to change the things that you can, that's where that courage comes from. And also that the contemplation of what's important, what isn't, the ideals, the patience comes from the more lives we live. We might not bring back full knowledge, but we bring back what's important.
Yeah, there's a sliver there. And then there's this recognition that kind of clicks in, I think. Yeah.
Keeps us from going postal.
Yeah, that's like I was saying when I ran into Shana, it was like, oh, there you are, But I also recognize that throughout my life, like there was a dream that I had that I know was a glimpse at a former life. It was actually a glimpse at a former death, and that was something that I always kept tucked in the back of my mind. That if there is reincarnation, then that was definitely a look at it. So I think we get those glimpses from time to time. A question here from Betty Lange. Do you believe, along with soulmates, do you believe you have a soul place, drawn to one place?
Yeah, and it may not be in the life that you're in. I mean, like right now, I've always, my whole life, been here in the States, but I am so drawn to the UK for some really strong pull.
Whereabouts?
England, basically. But
I would put you up around the York area.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
North Yorkshire.
Well,
Yeah.
my ancestors came from Liverpool.
Okay.
Part of them, the later ancestors. So it's all around there. But I always joked and said, if I ever go there, I'm not going to want to come back.
You won't.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things. So I think that you're reincarnating. Maybe that hole is where you were. For some reason, you're not anymore. But yeah, it's always been really fascinating to me.
Well, and I've also wondered, we did a show on Inside the Upside Down some months ago now about DNA that's passed down through the line, that maybe some of this is also ingrained in your DNA, where you had ancestors from a certain location, so there's a part of you internally that's drawn to there because it's ingrained within your DNA. So I wonder, maybe there's some fine line between what the soul is drawn to and what your actual physiology is drawn to.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of like muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I was in Scotland, and I love and could live in Edinburgh. Did not care for Glasgow.
See?
Interesting.
Didn't like it.
Scotland's a bucket list item for Shana and I. Scotland and Ireland, so it's just all that area there just calls to us. Of course, again, I have ancestors from Scotland.
They might be calling you from over there, not just the land, but the pull of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I also wonder how, as we're going through these different lives, have we actually been one of our ancestors before?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're both like, yep, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt. That was probably my biggest regret from the last trip to Ireland, is I didn't get to go to the ancestral lands that my family settled.
Yeah.
So when I get to go back there, that is the first location I'll be going to. It's Castle Pollard.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually built and settled by my direct ancestors, my lineage.
Very cool.
So eventually.
Yeah, there's some interesting comments in the chat where like Donna Gorton saying that she's seen a lot of lives where she was in Ireland. Where's the pirate one? Okay, B3 Airspace. I was a pirate in a previous life. There's Shana talking about Ireland and Scotland. So yeah, it's interesting. How people are drawn to specific areas and particular lives as well.
But let's face it, so many of our ancestors were over there many, many, many more moons than we've been here on U.S. soil.
True.
So is it really that surprising that so many of us are drawn to those areas when they spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years over there?
Thousands. Thousands in some places, yeah.
I mean, over here, it's in its infancy compared to the rest of the world.
It is. Yeah.
So it's really not surprising, it's and it I think if you took an auditorium full of people and asked them where their soul seems to want to go in the world, you would almost have a migration pattern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems everybody here wants to go back overseas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but I bet it would be very similar to a migration pattern from back before the U.S. was the U.S.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, everybody, I did put the link to Marla's book down in the description below. So if you would like to check out Soul Connection, A Deadly Obsession, you can just click on that link. It'll take you right to the Amazon page where you can get that. So just let everybody know. And I'll be reminding you again at the end of the show.
Now, Marla, I have a question for you based on your knowledge of soul connections and reincarnation and such, and the fact that you witchy woman like I am. Okay. So we've talked about the love connection like Mike and Shana. We've talked about your soul tribe. How common is it, and can you get rid of it when you have a person who has been part of your many lives and are still attached to you, although they are in spirit form?
That's a hard one.
Uh-huh.
Because, we only have so much control. You know this.
Yeah.
We have so much control of what goes on over there. And, you know, you can banish, you can do spell work, you can do a lot of things. I really think, though, that a disgruntled attachment is almost impossible to get away from completely.
Yeah, I had him contained for quite a while, and I've started waking up with bruises again this past 2 weeks.
Yeah, see? And I don't know if I don't know the magic words for that. I mean, we try in so many different ways. We have other people that are stronger, more, better at that, banishing. We travel into, sometimes we go into the dark magic because sometimes that's the only way you can maybe hope that works. But the soul is like bulletproof. I mean, if the intention, when we do spells, there's intention. When somebody comes back with that intention that they're never going to leave you alone, I don't know, and it's a horrible thing. It's absolutely, I've heard you talk about this before, and it's just absolutely miserable. And I wish there was like an easy fix, a quick fix or something, but I don't know of one, except tenacity, basically. Keep working.
Yeah, I do a lot of ignoring, but it's, the last 2 weeks have been rough.
They're like a spoiled child. They want the attention and they're going to do anything they can to get it. And so, ignoring is a good thing. Although you saw what happened when I ignored the cat.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Right on the back of your chair.
Now I'm sitting back so he can't get back there. But yeah, so I mean, it's. Have you ever tried to find out who that is?
I know.
You do. Okay. So this person, what they act like, what they think, and how they think?
I know what they are.
Okay. But is there any way you can get past that, get to that person? And just, I don't know. Everybody's got an Achilles heel, even spirit.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take a risk here and really, Mike, jump down that hole. Okay.
Go for it.
This person, and I've never stated this publicly, really. I don't think I have. I've implied it in the last book. They were not fully human.
Okay.
More of what you would call a demigod.
Yeah, that makes
type situation. Very powerful. Very. What's the word? Not jealous. It's not possessive.
Okay. So the question, I guess, that pops into my head is, where did that attachment come from? Why you?
About 600 years ago.
Okay. So it's that.
Been there ever since.
Okay.
So, yeah. And it would be a lot easier if he wasn't so dapper. I mean, it's the kind of person that if you were seeing him walk down the street, you'd be like, there's a nice gentleman.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
That's like James in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy in my book is just like that. He's conniving, but he's charming to other people, and he finagles and gets his way and does all kinds of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of them out there. James might be part devil too.
Well, fuck.
He's really bad.
We'll have to ask, given the nature of the book, is there going to be a sequel?
I was wondering.
I don't know. I mean, there could be, I suppose. I mean, it was, the ending was kind of an ending, but,
I was surprised by the ending.
Were you?
Don't tell me.
I was. I'm not going to tell you the ending. I was surprised.
Good or bad?
Oh, it was a good ending. Yeah, I like twist endings, so yeah.
But yeah, but even though it could stand alone as an ending.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, definitely.
You could bring it back in chapter 2 and yeah, I mean book 2. I mean, it's possible. And
I think you've got like 3 of them in you.
Oh.
I think you do. A trilogy.
I did the trilogy with my Ghosts of Hollywood series, and that was okay, done. 3 in a row is tough. But,
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
even Donna Gorton down there saying I was surprised by the ending too. She helped out with some of the formatting of the book, so she got a peek at it a little bit early. So
okay, here's the thing. Did you guys, we're not giving anything away, but did you guys kind of see things coming, or was it kind of where, wow, no, how did it come out in that respect?
I'll say this: the first, because I don't want to give anything away. The first one, yeah, you could kind of see that coming a little bit. The second one, to me, was out of the blue.
Okay.
Right at the end, it was like, wow, okay, didn't see that coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fucked up.
There was
We're enticing Vanessa here.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right, Mike. It did play the way you would expect it to, because it had to.
Yeah.
You know, it had to go the normal way. But the ending was a little bit tricky. You know, it was, I had to do that a couple of times before I would, and I'm still not sure it's all right. But I mean, it is. It was, you know.
Yeah, and Donna in the chat is saying she agrees. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So we do have a interesting comment here from Sean Oldsmith. This was a few minutes ago. He said, there was a story I heard that mother and daughter, the daughter said to the mother, I remember when I was your mom and you were my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting little story of, people perhaps being their ancestors before, but reversing roles too. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, and you can reverse sexes as well.
I was going to say that. Gender too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about that with Shana the other night because we were talking a little bit about. I think it might have been last night because the book released, and so we were talking about that. And I had mentioned to her, so what do you think about being a guy? If that had ever been the case. And she was essentially, she can speak for herself down in the chat, but she was essentially like she could see where that could be the case just because of the way she is, but she hopes that she was always a woman.
Yeah, guy, I can't imagine. That'd be a little rough. Yeah.
So, a question here from B3 Airspace. Will her book be available on Kindle? It already is available on Kindle. Yes. So I put the link down there is for the paperback version. They should be linked. Sometimes it takes a day or two for the paperback version, the Kindle version to link. If you go to the Haunted Road Media Facebook page in the block that I have there for that gives the description, all that has both the links for the paperback and the Kindle in that.
I also put it on my website on the page, marlabrooks.com. On the book page, there is the link also to both the paperback and the Kindle. Okay,
and so I should probably add that to the description here, the paperback link. So I was in a little bit of a rush, which I normally am on Tuesdays.
Well, yeah, you've got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Now, Marla, let me ask you a question. When you're writing something like this, and it's fiction, not nonfiction like you normally write, do you draw upon your own experiences or your own memories of past life, or do you have any type of spiritual help when you're doing something like this, or is it just from the hip?
Okay, two things. Spiritual help, yes, because I've said this before, and I said it about doing when I did Bad Case of the Collywobbles. The book kind of took its own direction, and it kind of wrote itself.
Gotcha.
In some areas, I was just like, okay, what's going to happen next? Start coming out. Yeah. The other kind of past experience, in a sense, there was, because at one point there was someone that I didn't know and probably never would, but there was a definite, not attraction, not like a sexual attraction or anything, but there was a definite attraction to that person. It was somebody in the public eye. And I couldn't figure it out. This was somebody that I didn't have anything in common with necessarily. The only common thing in the book is they are in England. And yeah, because I always looked at that guy when I would watch his movies, when I would see him in interviews. It's like, I know this guy. And it almost hurt that I knew it. And it was really frustrating. So that part came from me in the book, as far as the main character falling for, her guy that used to be the other guy. So yeah, there were two things that kind of came from experience.
Well, and you're right. You don't have to I mean, you can have those soul connections with people that are halfway across the world, you know, whether you know them or not. I was actually blessed to meet a few of mine when I went over there. And one of them, we swear we were siblings. We swear it. Me and David Lee Newton from NP Paranormal. And just the other day, I posted a thing. I want to go to Romania. Who's with me? Bucket list. In Sheffield, England, that same day, apparently he was talking about it with one of his coworkers before I ever posted anything.
Oh, wow.
Specifically about going to Romania.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
He and I are real tight, even though we don't get to talk a lot. But it's weird you have those connections.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people kind of focus on the romantic connections, I mean, obviously, but, you know, you can pick up, like you're saying, you know, like a sibling there, like, you know, Andrea Perrin and I, it's like, I swear she was my big sister in another life, you know, and she feels the same, where, you know, I was her brother in another life. So, you know, I like I said, I think everybody focuses a lot on those romantic ones, but you can have other types of really strong soul connections with people that aren't romantic.
You really, really can. And they're just as powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes even, no offense to anyone with the love part, but sometimes even more so because you appreciate it on a different level than just the romantic.
Yeah.
It's home, but in a totally different way. Yeah. It's really bizarre, and I've been blessed the last 4 years to come across with quite a few of mine.
That is,
really blessed.
A blessing, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wish you could get a glimpse back into those other lives and the stories that you played out. Because yeah, I think in a lot of ways, it's, you know, life is, you know, obviously a story, and so, you know, you're playing this one out right now, and you get a glimpse, I think, time to time of those other lives. It would be nice to see some of them play out and just be like, okay, what happened?
I think I was a screw up.
I know.
Well, like Shana, and I know you believe this too, Vanessa. Shana believes she was burned at the stake several times.
Yeah, I was hung.
Wow.
I saw it.
I ran fast.
Yeah, and Shauna's making a comment here. Vanessa and I have known each other in past lives. I felt it in our power hug at the Haunted Road Media Paragon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Marla, I was hung, and I saw it. I watched it happen, and the crazy thing is, years later, after I saw this during meditation, I actually was remote viewing for a team that investigated the location I was hung at.
Oh, wow. Coincidence?
And they asked for me by name.
Was not coincidence. It wasn't coincidence. That was meant to be.
Oh, yeah. And they asked for me by name. So that's bizarre.
But the universe is bizarre. But it really isn't. It makes a whole lot of sense. It's just that we look at it differently. You know, people, the Seinfeld joke about being in that bizarro world kind of thing. It is. I mean, it is, no matter how you look at it. It is. People choose to ignore it. I mean, in our world, in the witchy world, you know, people.
In the witchy world. That's a new T-shirt right there. Yep.
It's called worse. But, you know, people think it's bizarre. People think it's all these things that it isn't. I mean, you know, it's really kind of cool in the sense, because we know better. But nothing is bizarre. Nothing is outrageous. I mean, it's just the frame of mind that you take it in and what you're used to.
Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me what people think we actually are. Are you still shocked by it?
Yeah. A little bit. Not, you know, you get used to it after a while. But yeah, I mean, there's so many misconceptions out there, and so many falsehoods out there, and we're this and we're that, and they know better, and we're burning in hell. I mean, all that stuff, all the myth and legend is still with us. And
the fascinating thing is that they fear something they supposedly don't believe in.
Well, yeah, it's true.
Well, I mean, they have this old school, and really it's straight from, you know, the 1600s and all that, the 1500s, you know, way back, where for whatever reason, they feared that, you know, witches were brides of Satan, and, you know, all the suckling and all that crazy stuff, you know.
singing and
yeah. It was just hand in hand with the devil, and of course they had this massive fear that they were all going to hell. So if you were a witch that had this relationship with Satan, then oh my God, that's just going to destroy the entire community, or the whole community is going to burn. So yeah, I mean that was their fear.
And say what you will, that we don't believe in Satan. How do you jump in league and dance with the devil when you don't believe in him?
Exactly.
But they don't believe that. Then that's our alibi. We don't believe in it, so we're lying. But
it's fascinating. The fear is fascinating to me. People will tell me straight to my face, I don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe in it at all. I'm like, yeah, you don't believe it? You want me to curse you? I'll make a joke. You want me to curse you? No. But I thought, now come on.
Oh, get back.
So that if you don't believe in something and I say I'm going to do it, then that should be like me saying you want a Tic Tac. It should hold no weight.
That's a great analogy.
But yet all of a sudden their fear is it's all consuming.
You say you don't believe it, and then you show your pentagram. Ooh.
Oh, I'll just whip off my shirt and show it to them on my back.
There you go. Well, yeah, you're perfect. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
People change their mind about what they believe in.
I know, right? In other words, I'm really serious.
Yes.
I mean, it's funny. It takes me back to that movie. Do you remember that movie, First Wives Club?
Yeah.
Where the girl says, "Oh, and Dad, I'm a lesbian."
Yeah, a big one.
Yeah, I'm a witch. A big one.
If you're gonna be one, you better be a big one, because
better be a big one.
It's like the old saying: if you can't stir the cauldron, get away from the pot.
Exactly.
There you go.
It's not easy. I mean, I understand Kermit the Frog when he says it's not easy being green, because it's not easy being a witch. It isn't.
No.
You're either hiding or defending or trying to teach, or there's never a dull moment.
No. The funny thing is there are so many people that will tell you in front of others how unbelievably wrong you are. But I tell you what, shit goes down at their house, your phone's ringing.
Yep.
Please, a cleansing, please. Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mike, is anybody chatting?
Yeah, no, they're talking about it. So
nice.
yeah, like Riki Yamakaze saying witches are awesome. Beat through airspace. You have to be taught fear. Betty Lange, fear comes from following the need to be normal and not rejected. So afraid of being different. Yeah, there's a lot of that, and yeah, being taught fear. That was a big thing. Like when you go back to the Salem witch trials and all that, when you go into that Puritan lifestyle, basically what they were teaching their children, how, their religion was so ingrained in every single movement of their life that they were teaching their children to be fearful of every little thing that they did in their life. So they just, I think those girls just short-circuited, from that Puritan lifestyle and just went nuts.
Mm-hmm.
The absolutely fascinating thing about it is that out of every religion that I've ever met anyone that's associated with it, mm-hmm. the only group of spiritual people who I've never witnessed condemn or subjugate or have strong opinions about any other religion are pagans. Mm-hmm. They don't care what you practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't care as long as you're sweet.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. We embrace everybody else. We don't put them down, and that's the beauty of it. It's a very peaceful thing. And I mean, that's not to say we don't get angry and mad and, whatever, spit bullets sometimes or nails.
A little bit.
Yeah, we have to, but we're human. But the fact that, I mean, you go and you meet another group, you walk in and you realize that somebody else is a witch, for example. You feel it, you know it, and there is an instant bond. Now, you don't have to become best friends because people are people, but I think there is a bond, a connection between us all. And I'm grateful for that because we're not judgmental. We don't do stuff like that.
No. And I think others could have that same bond with other religions and other practices and other faiths if they didn't immediately reject it as an insult to their own.
Yeah.
Therein lies the key.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody having different beliefs doesn't negate or belittle yours.
Yeah.
Well, and you can even have even have combined beliefs. Here's an interesting comment from Phoenix Feather 1031. She says, as a witch in a Catholic family, it's interesting, especially when more than half don't know and judge you without even knowing. But I'm staying strong as a Christian witch.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nothing but love for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know Jewish witches. I know Christian druids. We all were good. You know, we respect each other for what we are. And yeah, you're not going to like everybody. Again,
No.
But you respect them and say, okay, well, that's who they are. That's what they do. Good. So be it.
Yeah. As long as they are not intentionally, physically hurting or abusing anybody or any animals, then you know what? I mean, I got nothing but love. Nothing but love. And I know it's a pipe dream. I know it's a utopian wish, but I still pray for that. Just for that moment of peace and of clarity for others to know in their soul that just because somebody has a different belief doesn't negate or belittle theirs.
Yeah.
Our individuality is what makes us an amazing species.
And you learn from one another. If you stay in your own little bubble, you're never going to expand. You're never going to reap the benefits of knowledge and education about other people, different things. And it's so, so important.
It really is.
Yeah.
I have a question here from Betty Lange. Getting back to the writing, as an author, do you have a dream or read something, then need to research it and write it as a story? So I guess, what's your muse?
My muse is very amusing because it just pops in. There is no muse. It just, I think things happen and come to me when they need to, when they're supposed to. It's one of those things when there's a need to get out and do it or write about it or something. That's it. So this book I did not recently. This book is a few years old. But I mean, you know, and it sat for a very long time. And to be honest, I couldn't figure out a name. I was going crazy trying to name this book. Collywobbles was easy to name because Collywobbles is a kind of a digestion problem, you know.
Right.
And so in that book, things were happening. It was fiction fantasy and you know, the characters were always kind of, oh God, things were happening. So all of a sudden in my head came, A Bad Case of the Collywobbles. Perfect for that book, right? This one I was dying over. I mean, that's why I didn't get it published. But that's not, in retrospect, in hindsight, that's not it. It wasn't supposed to come out until now, for whatever reason, you know, because once I kind of got real serious, I got in touch with you, Mike, and right. stuff. All of a sudden, so this was the right time. This was the right publisher. This was the right way to get it done. So there really isn't a muse. It just kind of happens when it's supposed to. That's the way I look at it.
It's the universe working for you.
Yeah, and they do. Believe it or not, they do. Yep. For better or for worse.
I was about to say, you don't always have to like it.
No,
but it always serves a purpose.
It does. Yeah. And we learn from it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes you might not understand it, but that's the way it works.
Sometimes you curse a lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So,
we spew frog spawn, you know.
There you go.
So I guess I would ask you, you know, from a writer's viewpoint, which do you prefer? Do you prefer doing the nonfiction or the fiction? Because I know for me, they each serve a different purpose.
They do. I think, okay, I'm going to say something and then I'm going to take it back in a way. I think nonfiction is easier in the sense that you have a lot of research that you can go to. And that in itself makes it easier. Fiction, you have to be creative. You have to be clever. You need to do the plot lines and all this stuff, which I never did. See, this was the thing. I know I had help because I didn't write down an outline. I didn't write down a story. I just sat down. It was like channeling through the keyboard. So that in itself, in general, though, is probably harder, because even though I was given all this stuff, I made a lot of changes. I said, oh, that's not quite right or whatever. So I think fiction is probably a harder thing to do because you have a plot. You have to follow the plot. You can't trip over the plot and leave things hanging, and everything has to be tied up at the end. So I think fiction is harder.
I agree. That's the reason I don't write it.
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but
I guess to me it's a journey. And everybody writes a little bit differently, but for me it's I kind of have a premise of a story and have an idea of where I want to take it, and everything else in between is the journey. And sometimes it goes off in different directions that I never expected.
I hate dialogue. Hate it. Hate it with a passion.
It's not the dialogue as much as it is the punctuation.
Yes.
That's the one that'll get you every time, and where are the quotes and then the comma, but there's a comma, should there be a period, and then that.
If I wrote fiction, Mike would kill me.
Well, I'm surprised.
I already curse you under my breath anyway.
I know, right?
I'm surprised he didn't get to me and say, what the hell is this? He must be a gentleman, because I didn't hear any complaints, but.
Oh, it was fine. I mean, there was some stuff that get cleaned up, of course. But,
the stupid stuff. Yeah. Stuff. But, it's true. When you write and you read something over and over and over again, you will see it differently than it really is. And that's why you need somebody to come in and say, what? You didn't see that? Come on.
Because the way it's supposed to be, so your eyes just glaze over it.
Well, isn't it true when you're reading? I think I read something about it. When you're reading, you're not reading every letter of a word. Mm-hmm. You're like getting a piece of the word. So it's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Back when I used to have the time to read a lot, I'm such a speed reader, and yet I can damn near quote a book verbatim. But I read Asheron by Sherilyn Kenyon, which is somewhere between 800 and 1,000 pages long. I read it in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
2 days.
And your
eyes could recite.
And you lived to tell the tale.
I didn't sleep. I think I ate a little bit, and I might have went potty, but I didn't sleep.
Wow.
It's that good of a book.
That's amazing.
Another question about writing here from Betty Lange. Marla, did you feel like you birthed the baby, nursed the book, then birthed it and let it go?
It was a relief. It is a birth for sure. And then it takes a long time because you're raising the child. That's where you're doing the editing, you're doing the fixing, you're changing the plot line. So you do bring it to a certain level. And then when you can do no more, you do have to cut and release. And hopefully it gets caught by a lot of people who appreciate it or like it. And that makes it all worthwhile, I think.
Very cool.
No labor.
Yeah, you don't get the labor pains with it, I guess.
I don't want it to. So the editor gets the labor pains.
Yeah. From C.P. Davis is back on the topic of witches. Do you think what happened in Salem hurt witches?
You mean the
I'm not sure of the context of hurting.
Well, I think I'm trying to get at that. Did it hurt witches in the sense that we were known as bad and we were hung because we were bad, and that probably stuck?
Yeah, I think that was already the case, though.
It was, yeah. But still, okay, go to Salem. I haven't been there, but I've seen it. They still have the Wicked Witch on the broomstick as their logo on the government buildings and stuff. I mean, because it's a colorful myth, and so
it's great for commercialism there. Yeah, they need to market that. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But people still go for that, and people still believe that witches are bad. I mean, we can't break away from that stereotype completely. I mean, that's why I do my show.
Unfortunately, though, and we have to address the elephant here, Marla. Unfortunately, there are those who fall into our practice who perpetrate that myth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just like in Catholicism, you've got good priests who would never harm anybody, and then you have those few that, okay, we're of the same ilk. We have the same situation. We have folks like yourself and myself and others who are regular Joes going through life, practicing the way that we practice, not harming anybody. And then you have those that they are just, I'm calling on Hecate, and, and I'm going to get all Billy Badass and everything else. And those are the louder ones.
And the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
So,
right. Well, okay. Take it to come Halloween. Turn on any cable station, travel station that's doing stories about witches, and who do they get? The ones with the hair that stands up on end, one missing,
nails out to here,
puts a fake wart on. I mean, because they're colorful, and that's entertainment. But those are people that watch it. Very few people really get to know witches personally. I think part of it is that they're afraid. The other part is many people know witches and don't know that they're witches.
True story.
Yeah. So, but it's getting to know us, getting to understand, getting to learn about us. I mean, I don't do just witch shows. I mean, I do all kinds of shows like you guys do. But when I do, I think it's to help educate people so they get a better idea of who we are and what we represent, and that you don't have to follow the stereotypes. I mean, do I have a black hat? Yeah, I've got one somewhere. The broom's up in the closet, but I'm not using it to fly, and I'm not using it, as a dunce cap. Well, it should be sometimes. But yeah, I mean, people need to learn, and I love people that ask questions. I really do. Because somebody will say, well, I've got a stupid question I'm afraid to ask you. No, ask me, because nothing is stupid if you're asking. And so hopefully, we're making some effort. We're making some ground, trying to turn things around. And, people say, well, you've got secrets you'll never tell. Well, so do the Masons.
Exactly.
Right.
And I'm more afraid of theirs than I am of yours.
Yeah, we don't have that funny stuff. Well,
funny stuff. Beat Through Airspace actually makes a interesting point here without even realizing it. She offhandedly said Samantha was a cute witch from Bewitched, and thinking back, that was probably the first mainstream witch that wasn't your stereotypical with the hat and the hair and the fingernails and the wart and all that. To depict, here's this, attractive, blonde woman that you would just think is, your typical suburban mother. But no, she's a witch.
But they did work the cynicism in with Andorra.
With Andorra, yes. Andorra was definitely more of that.
But then I worry about we're going to end up being Aunt Clara.
True story.
Yeah. Sometimes you feel that way.
Well, the saddest part, though, and Marla, tell me if you would agree with this, is we have shows out like Charmed and stuff like that. People actually expect that if we do spell work, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, they absolutely do. We got the wand and we do this and the pentagram.
You can't make sparkly colors appear and all that. And smoke no.
I would like to be able to do that. I could make some money, off on the side. But yeah, no, we make some colorful verbal things, but those are words, not anything else. But yeah, I mean, do we have wands? Sure. Do we have Assamese? Yes. I mean, you show somebody an Assamese and it's like, you got a knife. Well,
it's like no,
knife where it's not used to cut people or food. The broom isn't for flying, but it is symbolic of sweeping away negativity and things like that. I've got a whole lot of things on my altar that people would go, oh, Jesus. But, it's not
exactly.
but it's not that bad. All right, look, case in point, real quick. A friend of mine gave me this athame.
Beautiful.
Very cool. Nice.
You know, and it is good for ritual. It's a little, but you know, it's so benign. I mean, it's got the Egyptian flair. It's got the scarab and, you know, Isis and whatever.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but I don't think of it as a weapon. But
no,
come in here and say, is there a dagger in there? Well, yeah, kind of. But it's for ritual, and then, you know.
But it's let's just.
Yeah, but what type of animals are you sacrificing with it? See, that's what they think.
Yeah, that's what they think.
Yeah,
say,
I know.
Yeah. But let's address the absurdity of that, though. That's an athame on your altar sheath. And they're like, oh, is that a dagger? No, but there are 6-inch butcher knives in my block in the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
Which should you fear more?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a 3-foot tall aluminum bat in my closet. Which should you fear more?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to impale somebody with my athame, but I will knock the hell out of you with my bat.
Absolutely right. It's absolutely right. But, you know, we've got this stereotype about, you know, who we are and what we do. And so it frightens people, and they have vivid imaginations. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Question here from Rika Yamakaze. If I'm mispronouncing your name, please tell me how to pronounce it correctly. Have you ever had a paranormal experience being a witch?
I've had a paranormal experience many times being a person. Witches, I don't think our paranormal experiences are any different than anybody else's. Except one time, we were on an investigation, and we were at the Hollywood Wax Museum, and my medium, my friend who is a medium and a witch, was there. And they had all these little hallways and stuff, and we started to walk through, and she stopped us. She goes, wait, stop. The air is not good here. This is not a good feeling right here. And she did a banishing ritual of the pentagram. So you can incorporate witchcraft into paranormal, but all of our experiences, we do it the same way everybody else does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gwen Clapper saved my ass with her traveling altar many a time.
See? Mm-hmm.
On investigations.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess it's Yamazaki. I was transposing 2 of the letters.
You did good. Nothing worse than being a host and messing up a name. I
Yeah.
mean, I just thought that I'm not sure of. I'm just like, okay, before we do it, tell me how to say your name, and then I have to write it phonetically because it's embarrassing.
Right. It's all good. So yeah, they're letting me know down in chat. Okay. It's like a whole long list of, yes, Mike, you're a screw up.
All right.
Right.
That's said with love. Right.
So we're getting down toward the end of the show here, Marla. How can everybody find you?
Oh, I'm so easy to find. My website is marlabrooks.com. On Facebook, Marla Brooks. There's also During the Cauldron Facebook page. There's also a Witches Oracle Deck Facebook page. But I mean, kind of everything that you really need to know is on my website, so you can find me. But you can friend me on Facebook and find me there Thursday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern on Para X. I've only been doing it for 10 years at the same time. 9 o'clock Eastern and Para X is During the Cauldron. And I have an archive show right before at 8 o'clock Eastern. So it shows from maybe 8 or 9 years ago that people haven't seen and stuff. So
nice.
Google me and I'm there. Yeah, for better or for worse. Never
Awesome.
know when you Google yourself.
Yeah, you never know what you might be able to find.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, I did put the link for the paperback for Soul Connection down in the description. Let me go back to there it is. There's the book cover, Soul Connection: A Deadly Obsession by Marla Brooks.
Beauteous cover. Yes.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun putting that one together.
Yeah, and I mean, I go to him and what's that font? I love that font. I need it for my band.
And if people notice, the colors that I use in Soul Connection are the twin flame colors, the blue and the orange.
Nice.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
It just seemed appropriate. You know, you got the clock with the time, or actually it's a pocket watch in the couple and all that. So, and even, and this is a little tidbit, railway timekeeper, the idea of, time moving, down the tracks, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
So if anybody wants to find a character that they really, really dislike reading about, and you love to hate the guy, that's the book.
Yep, there you go.
I can't wait to read it
too. I just love how many people hated the guy. Yeah,
it's a great book. Go pick it up. Just came out last night. Available now from Haunted Road Media. All right, that's our first fiction book we've released, not by me. So,
good. Hey, so that's another first in your life.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get to the shout outs before we sign off. So let's get down to Super Chat Superstars. We have Tom McNicholas this evening. Thank you for being a Super Chat Superstar this evening for our shout outs. Well, thank you to Shana for being our chat Shananigator this evening. Also our Cheshire Cat, Donald Gorton down there. Thank you guys very much. Let's see, we have Beat 3 Airspace, one of our, Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. So our Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons, which if you'd like to be, go ahead and check us out, patreon.com/Haunted Road Media. We just uploaded some behind the scenes stuff from our YMCA investigation video. But that would be Tom McNicholas, Beat 3 Airspace, Zippy Davis, BD Flint, Pamela Queen, Joe Chandler, and Andrew Cox. Thank you guys very much for being Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. Excuse me. So here we go. So we got Tim Schoen. Thanks for joining us this evening. There's Discord threads. Check out her stuff. Very cool stuff. There's Snaggletooth. Hey, Patrick. Good to see you down there this evening. Betty Lange, of course. Thank you for all of your questions. There's Tammy Heisman. Thanks for joining us again tonight. And there's Andrew Cox. Hey, good to see you down there. Sean Oldsmith from Australia joined us this evening. Thanks, Sean. There's the Haglin. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Phoenix Feather 1031. Thank you as well. There's Judy Wilson saying, please come back, Marla. And B3 Airspace is also saying, yes, please come back. So yes, the very first guest we ever had here on Edge of the Rabbit Hole. So, and she's back. Tracy Christian, thanks for joining us again. There's Linz White, thank you very much. Bree Jones, thank you as well. Greg Rinkin, thanks for joining us this evening. Kathy Ciliento, thank you as well, saying outstanding cover. And there's Fran Molino, thank you, Fran. And who else? Well, there's Tom McNicholas, of course. Paranormal World Investigators, thanks for joining us tonight. I know there are a lot of other people in the Rika Yamazaki. I'm not gonna live that one down. There's Haunted Road Media's Fairy Queen, Diane Hilbert. Thanks for joining us tonight, Diane. And yeah, Vanessa, if you came out, we were talking about it before the show. If you came out to the Ocean State Paracon, you would meet Diane as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and I guess scroll back down. Charla Kane, thank you for joining us. And yeah, there's Zippy. Cool. Let me scroll back down and see if anybody threw in a last shout out. Denise Pridemore is in the house. And Judy Wilson. And I think I'm just restating people's names now. All right, everybody. So if I missed you, I do apologize. I try to hit everybody, but there's so many people. And like I said, I know there are people that were in there earlier on and checked out. And yeah, so that's the way it goes. All right, Marla, thank you very much for coming back and talking about soul connections and reincarnation and witchy stuff. We had a great time.
Yes, we did. We always have a good time. So yes. I really appreciate it and appreciate all your efforts. You, Vanessa, as well, witchy sister. And we'll do it again. And you guys come back and visit and stir my cauldron too.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Would love to. Okay. All right, everybody, pick up Soul Connection. And we'll see you in a few minutes for Inside the Upside Down. Take care.